Hello there, I'm Myrna Loy, author of Lovers Rock More Than a Dance Floor. And the reason why I'm reciting the contents of the book is because one of my subscribers, asked for an insight to what was going on in the UK between the 1970s and 1980s. And I thought, rather than go through the notes and have other people's experiences, why not talk about my experience? And what better way could I do that than through a book I had written called Lovers Rock More Than a Dance Floor. Now I'm reading from the condensed version, which is quite short. The more comprehensive version, which includes political, what was going on at the time politically and economically, and that can be bought on Amazon. This one, like I said, is an abbreviated version, and I hope you enjoy it. For those of you who are passing by for the first time, you may just have come across this video, and you're at number 4, chapter 4. If that's the case, you might be wondering why I'm wearing glasses. I have an eye ulcer that's healing, and of course my eyes are sensitive to the light, so that is why I've got dark glasses on. Okay, so let's go. I'm now at chapter 9. And it's called Rock the Rhythm, chapter 9. How do you explain to anyone who was not born in the Lovers Rock era or attended a Lovers Rock dance that it is okay to simulate sex on the dance floor with a stranger? They would say you're asking to be raped or something. Like I said, dancing to Lovers Rock was hard to explain. Spouses and partners who never went to a Lovers Rock dance together would allow strangers to make them feel a way their partners had not been able to make them feel for a long time. And it was permissible. It was accepted. It didn't mean anything unless it led to something. The Lovers Rock dance could be misinterpreted. If you were dancing with somebody who made you feel really good, it could be easy to believe that there was something more to it, that it could lead to something that wasn't only a dance. How can two people rub-a-dub and it not mean anything? How can it not lead to anything? It depended on the individual resilience, how happy you were at home, how satisfying your home life or sex life was. Lovers Rock was defiant. It was more than an opportunity to dance with someone. It was mischievous. It was disruptive. It was seductive. Imagine being at home all week. There are no warm hugs or affectionate words from your parents, or who seem only interested in your scores at school, college, or how much money you make from your Saturday job that could contribute to the bills. From the time you were weaned from your mother, it was instinctive for all of us to want to be held and loved unconditionally. The Lovers Rock dance did that in a few hours. Lovers Rock was consoling. That was why it didn't matter what a dance partner looked like when the lights were turned off and it was pitch dark. The touch on your arm was synonymous with affection. Gentle pull would be enough to make a woman turn around and face a silhouette and feel validated. And the dance was either good or it wasn't. If it wasn't, you wouldn't dance with that person again. If it was, you could be dancing all night. Each individual knew on a subconscious level what they needed when they rocked the rhythm. A smile, a chat, a compliment, a dance, or a commitment. Lovers, the music, tapped into the feel-good area of our brain. It was a reggae neurotransmitter, playing a pleasurable role in how those who listened to it felt. It was our dopamine. Trying to articulate the feelings that emerged out of rocking to the rhythm with a stranger in a dance is difficult. How do you justify crubbing up in a dark room with a stranger like you're having sex? Marriages, long-term relationships, and children were born out of crubbing up, which is an indication that the provocative, rhythmic, and sensuality of movement on the dance floor was not an invitation to sexual abuse, molestation, or a one-night stand, but permission to enter someone's life, in some cases for a lifetime. I wanted to put the record straight for generations to come, so they can get an insight into what we experienced and why many of our children were born out of the Lovers Rock dance. Lovers Rock was our solace when we needed it to be satiated. Chapter 10. Slacks and Sovereigns. Brand name was our motto. Young black Brits invested in the best clothes, best shoes, expensive hats and accessories. Italy was synonymous with quality and style, so Jack, Sophia and Alex Pizer decided that the Gabici would be the brand name of choice for the Roots Massive during the Lovers Rock era after a trip to Italy. The Rootsmen wore Gabici jersey cardigans, which were trimmed with leather or suede, with the Farah elm slacks. Gregory Isaacs, cool ruler, was renowned for wearing the various types of Gabici and matching beaver hats, as seen on the cover of his Lonely Lover and Reggae Lover record albums. 100% cashmere Crombie complemented crocodile or snakeskin shoes, and there would always be a waft of Aramis or Paco Rabanne cologne where these stylish men passed by. Women's hair was pressed and rolled. They didn't wear much makeup. Natural was the order of the day. The females looked elegant, wearing twin sets and pleated skirts, accessorized with their names in gold around their necks, gold bracelets, and Omega, Accurist or Seconda watches on their wrists. The Lovers Rock, as mentioned earlier, was similarly stylish and elegant, although the various colour ranges of Farah slacks, the number of sovereigns or Kugran rings, thick curved chains and Rolex watches could be viewed as excessive and pretentious. They didn't see it that way. From silk socks, silk shirts, silk handkerchiefs to diamond socks, from Scotch House, shoes from Bali or Pierre Cardin, it was nothing but the best for us. We was a conservative breed. Men took so much pride in their cars back then. Weekends you would see them outside washing and polishing them by hand. The cars had to match the image. I don't know if they drove their father's cars or rented them. It wasn't a question we would ask back then. It would be like asking them, how do you pay for your expensive clothes and jewellery? Our expensive taste along with our possession went with the territory. The cars we chose to drive back then ranged from the Ford Escort, Ford Capri 2000 GT, the Cortina Mark III, Hillman Avenger 1300 DL, Ford Celica, Acura Integra, Toyota MR2, Audi Quattro, Honda CRX, to the Aston Martin, Mazda R7 Turbo, a Jaguar or a BMW. The Lovers Rock posse made an image statement wherever they went. Chapter 11. Love makes the world go round. Love makes the world go round because it includes sexual love, which results in procreation. The moment you connect, continuity is possible. Most of us know that love can make you feel as though you can climb the highest mountain and swim the deepest sea. So when you are besotted, infatuated or attracted to someone who is able to conjure up feelings of love, it's easy to claim, this is my man, this is my woman, and think about planning a life together that includes children. Love lets you drop your guard because you believe you have found the one. You open up, you disclose things about yourself, you share secrets, your tolerance increases and you find yourself accepting behaviours you never thought you would, especially with the person you recently met on the dance floor. When you are in love, you allow yourself to become vulnerable in a potentially precarious situation. We used to find ourselves opening up emotionally and physically because the environment and individual felt familiar. When dancing close, although the status of your partner was undefined, the way they touched and held you was comforting. The intimacy of the dance made you forget your emotional and physical setbacks, and even forget that you'd only met them just a few hours before. Somehow, you felt as though you had known them for months, even years. It was this feeling of familiarity why we got involved so quickly. Our intimacy on the dance floor was based on trust. Many of us were born in the UK, and those who weren't hadn't been in the UK for quite some time, had been in the UK for quite some time. So it didn't feel like the person who held us tight, nuzzled in our neck, nibbled our ears, kissed our foreheads, was a stranger. We had so much in common with each other, a common language, a common style, common background, common taste in music, usually a common religion, a common upbringing, a common set of values. However, some of us might say we lacked common sense. However, it did mean that females looking for a long-term partner could be misguided and harmed emotionally by trusting too quickly. It was non-threatening to disclose personal information, such as your real name, your address, your telephone number, the job you did. We offered this information without reservation. Having so much in common meant that it was easy to overlook manipulation, dismiss unreliability, rationalize lack of integrity, and justify inconsistency because we wanted so much to trust the person we were attracted to. Feeling in love can lead you to ignoring red flags. High on love, we would ignore warning signs. We used to find that the following excuses meant he was seeing someone else. I won't be long, and he doesn't turn up for hours. He tells you he lives with his mum, so he can't give you his phone number. He calls you from a private number and tells you he is using his friend's phone. He tells you he really likes you but ignores your phone calls. These red flags should have warned us to avoid intimacy, but they didn't. We needed a relationship. We needed love, so we made excuses and justified unhealthy behaviour. Love means prioritizing your partner's well-being above your own. This was how many women ended up living with their partners prematurely. They thought more about the partner's needs instead of evaluating whether the relationship would enhance their living situation. Instead of having the discussion about the practicalities and financial situation, many allowed loving paupers to move in with them. Feelings of love that had developed on the dance floor often led each party feeling sexually aroused. Wrapped in the arms of someone you were extremely attracted to, it was easy to want to leave the dance and jump each other's bones. It must have taken every ounce of willpower for dance partners to stop the mating process in its track and restrain themselves. Chapter 12. It's very short, so I'm going to include this one. This is called To Love Somebody. I'd always been a rebellious child, probably because of my inconsistent upbringing. I had been placed in a private foster home and then returned to live with my mother between the age of 4 years and 11 years old, which is the period physiologists claim adverse childhood experiences develop. I'm not sure if you've heard of adverse childhood experiences, but they are the type of experiences that affect the well-being and stability of a child right through to adulthood, if not corrected. My adverse childhood experiences were caused by the lack of attachment and feelings of abandonment. Children who are torn from their parents can feel traumatized even if the person who is replacing the parent is caring. My foster parents were emotionally cold but well-meaning. My upbringing was therefore founded on detachment and instability, which might have exposed vulnerabilities in my search for love. When I returned to my mum, I resented being away from the foster home and became obstructive and defiant. Sneaking out of my mum's house to go to a rave came with territory. I was determined to find someone who was consistent, reliable, sensitive, and kind to love me. My mother gave up telling me not to go out and so laid down the rules that I should not date a Jamaican because they would only want to find me in the bedroom or the kitchen. My mother told me to find a nice English boy. I don't know if she meant English white or English black, but for me, I preferred black men. Being born in the early 1950s, it was difficult for me to find black men who were born in England. Most of the black men had just come, and it was the Jamaicans who often had the confidence to approach me with charm and convincing gestures, and therefore, because of their approach, I chose Jamaicans to love. So this is going to continue in part 5. I hope you enjoyed the series.